Hello everybody and thank you for joining me. This is Sierra from Sierra T Designs and today I have week 8 of the 12 weeks of Christmas series. I can't believe we are already here, but let's jump into it. So I'm going to make an A-sized card and I have my A2, and I have the stitched rectangles that I'm cutting out the second largest and the largest. That's what I'm using for the panel I'm going to blend on. And I have a piece of Bristol Smooth cardstock here. That is one of my preferred cardstocks for oxide blending. The smoother, the better. And I do find the Bristol Smooth very smooth cardstock. So I'm going to use my Gemini to cut this out. And I do have Gemini Jr plates to go through my Gemini. And that self-healing mat is actually, it was a 9x12 mat that I cut in half. And then I just have a cardstock shim underneath it. And that's what I put through my Gemini. And it works really well for mine. So I'm getting right into the blending. And I'm using 3 colors of oxide ink. I have Tumbled Glass, Distress Oxide ink, and I have Rustic Wilderness and Black Soot. And those are the 3 colors that I am going to blend between. And I am using some domed foams and a blending tool. I do find that you will get a better blend the more ink that's on the cardstock, or in this case, the Bristol Smooth paper, just because the ink moves better with the more ink you have on the background. So I have had some people ask me what kind of tips and tricks I have for oxide blending, and one of them would be the dome foams. I find the dome foams are a lot more beginner friendly, especially if you're kind of newer to blending. I find that they don't create circles when you touch the cardstock with them. So you're more likely to not have harsh edges when you're blending. So that's a huge advantage because you don't have to try to then blend out that error, as well as the smoother the cardstock you can have, the better. And the more ink you have on the cardstock, the better. Now, a couple of my colors are a little bit dry, so I do need to re-ink them, and that's why my Black Soot went on very light and gray to start with. But you can see here that I'm just building up the color, and it will turn out to be a very dark color in the end. And it does take some practice and some work and some patience, to be honest. Just keep playing with it. Go back and forth between your colors and just try to your best to blend them. And honestly, it doesn't have to be perfect. I know I say that in a lot of my videos, but I want to reiterate that you don't have to try to create perfection. You're just trying to create something that's pretty and fun for you to make. And I mean, it's fun for people to receive as well. It doesn't have to be perfect. So my blends are never perfect. I know on video they end up looking pretty good, but you know what, we all start somewhere, and I think that the more you practice, the better off it'll be, and the easier it will be too. So those are kind of my tips for it. So I did bring in some Perfect Pearls in the color Perfect Pearls mixed up in a little mini mister bottle, and I flicked that onto the background. And then here I just have some Picket Fence Distress paint that I'm also flicking on the background. Now I have a fan brush. This is going to give me very, very fine little drops of the paint. If you wanted a thicker or more like bigger circles or bigger drops, you would want to use a different brush than what I'm using. But I really kind of wanted just added texture in the background, not that I necessarily needed bigger drops. And it will also pick up some of the Distress Oxide ink, so it won't be perfectly white regardless. So now I'm going to cut out the mat that I want behind my panel there, and I'm going to cut it down because I am going to put it through my Gemini with those junior plates, and of course this sheet wouldn't fit. And this is a stunning champagne glitter cardstock. I'm not even 110% sure who makes this specific cardstock. It was in my stash. I just pulled it out to use. I will try to link one that's very similar to the one that I'm using, but I don't remember the exact brand of it. But anytime I use anything in my videos, I do link everything down below if you're ever interested. I try to link either exactly what I'm using or an alternative to what I'm using if it's something that's out of stock or not available anymore. So I do try to make sure you guys can get, if you're interested, whatever I'm using. So I did use this beautiful champagne glitter cardstock. And then I'm also going to bring in the Sophie wafer die. This is a Simon Says stamp die. I believe it's designed by Christina Warner. And I'm going to put that through my Gemini in the center of that champagne glitter cardstock because I don't want to waste any of it. This glitter cardstock is stunning. I am so in love with it. It doesn't shed. It die cuts beautifully. Like here you can see it went through once and I'm like easily taking it out. And I find some glitter cardstock does not do that easily. And then I'm going to adhere this down right away, my panel, onto my glitter cardstock, just because the glitter cardstock does have a harder time adhering. So I wanted to give it a good chance to adhere before I tried to add other layers and stuff onto it. So I'm going to add some Nuvo Deluxe glue to the back of my blended panel, and then I'm going to adhere it down on top of my glitter cardstock. And then I'm going to set my Misti on top of it. It's just my favorite weight because it's flat, right? So I never have to worry about it curling or having any problems. And then I just stick my Misti on top there and let it sit. And then, of course, one of my kittens had to come and supervise. So here I am just showing you how easily this die cut, like it only went through one time, guys. So it's like, and then everything pops out beautifully. Look at this, like no hassle, no issues. I don't know. This cardstock is wonderful. I should stop like praising it because I'm not even sure I can link to it, but I will try to find you something that hopefully is a really great alternative if I can't figure out who made this specific one. But I was just so in love with this cardstock. I just think it's stunning. And I know it looks pretty gold on the screen. It is champagne. It's not yellow-y really. It's hard to describe. And sadly, you lose some of its luster on the video, but in person, and hopefully when you see the card at the end, you'll see how stunning it is. And then I am going to adhere it down to my card base. I'm going to bring in my Nuvo Deluxe glue again, just my preferred liquid glue, especially for adhering panels down. And then I am going to bring in the Barely Art glue for the actual Snowflake, because it has that super fine tip, which I prefer for very delicate things. And I will hold it with my reverse tweezers as well, because you guys can see I have long nails, so holding delicate things can be a bit difficult for me sometimes. So I am going to hold it with some reverse tweezers there. And then I am kind of putting very, very small drops of glue kind of on the tips of everything so that they won't lift. And I am going to pounce it down on my glass mat once I have all the glue that I want on it, just to stop extra glue from ending up on the card. Because of course, again, this is Distress Oxide ink. So if you have glue that kind of ends up on the ink, it will pull out some color. Because it reacts with water, right? So, and glue is a liquid. So you're going to see here right there, I just pounced it on my glass mat to take off some of the excess glue so that there's not a lot of extra sitting on the back of the Snowflake when I go to adhere it down. And I'm kind of aiming to center it and aiming it to line it up. I mean, I don't know that it's perfect. I kind of ended up shifting it by accident a little bit when I removed the tweezers as well. And then I just shift it back and adhere it down. You could absolutely add some dimension to this. You could cut out some extra layers and add them on top. I was kind of trying for a more simple card. You guys know that I tend towards more is more, and I kind of was just trying to create a card that you could easily replicate if you wanted to make a whole bunch of them. I mean, the most time-consuming part of this was the oxide blending, and for me, that didn't take very long either. So, but you don't have to. I mean, you could use a really cool watercolor pattern paper, or if you wanted to use pattern paper as the background instead of oxide blending, you could really mass produce this card quickly. And then of course I couldn't refuse, like I just couldn't help myself. I had to add a gem to the center of the Snowflake. You don't need to do that, it's overkill, but I love all the glittery things, so I had to add it. And then I'm going to hold it up here so you guys can get a closer look at this beautiful card. I would love to know what you think. Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. So if you'd like, leave me a comment, leave me a like. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. I do new videos every Monday and Thursday. So I will see you guys again very soon. Bye-bye for now.